Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking the really somber but beautifully poetic crime drama, Road to Perdition. It's this powerful story about vengeance, sacrifice, and fatherhood. And the whole thing is told entirely from a son's memory. To really get the story, we kind of have to start at the very end to understand the beginning. The entire film is basically an answer to a single haunting question. How does a son remember a father who was both a cold-blooded killer and, at the same time, a loving protector? And, well, as you'll see, the answer is complicated. All right, so our story kicks off in the bleak winter of 1931, right in the middle of the Great Depression. And we meet this man who's trying to live two completely separate lives. It's a balancing act that's just about to come crashing down. On one side of the coin, you've got Michael Sullivan, the quiet family man. He's a husband to Annie and a father to two young boys. But on the other side, he is the most trusted and lethal enforcer for the Irish mob, carrying out violent orders for his boss, John Rooney, without batting an eye. So this sets up a really dangerous triangle of loyalties. See, John Rooney raised Sullivan and basically treats him more like a son than his own flesh and blood Connor. And this favoritism, well, it's bred this deep, dangerous jealousy in Connor. He's pretty much the powder keg at the center of this whole story. So how does this whole fragile piece just shatter? Well, it happens in a single night, when a son's curiosity leads to a completely devastating betrayal. Michael Jr., Sullivan's oldest son, he has no clue what his dad actually does for a living. And just driven by that simple kid's curiosity, he stows away in his father's car to see where he goes at night. But what he ends up witnessing is going to tear his entire world apart. This is the point of no return. Michael Jr. becomes a witness, and the volatile Connor, he just panics, he's terrified, and in his fear, he decides he has to erase the problem. So he ambushes the Sullivan home, and he brutally murders Sullivan's wife, Annie, and his youngest son, Peter. In just one single night, Sullivan's entire life is just destroyed. This absolutely horrific betrayal sets Sullivan on a completely new path. He's not an enforcer for the mob anymore. Now he's its sworn enemy, and he's got a few simple, really desperate goals. He has to protect his only surviving son, and he has to avenge his family. But more than anything else, he is now singularly focused on one thing: making sure his son does not become him. So the road they travel, it's not just about revenge, it's about saving his son's very soul. And their journey unfolds over these intense 6 weeks, and it becomes this grim tutorial in survival. Sullivan starts systematically robbing banks that hold mob money, and he even teaches Michael Jr. how to be his getaway driver. They become these partners, fugitives bonded by tragedy, all while being hunted by this truly unsettling assassin named Harlan Maguire. Okay, so this all leads to the story's emotional core. Sullivan's final, heartbreaking confrontation with John Rooney, the man who was a father to him, but also the man protecting the son who destroyed his family. Sullivan goes to Rooney with proof that Connor's been stealing from him for years, trying to reason with him. But Rooney just delivers this cold, hard truth. He forces Sullivan to look at the life they chose, reminding him that in their world, there's no redemption. But Sullivan's response, man, it cuts right to the heart of his entire mission. This isn't about saving his own soul anymore. He knows that ship has sailed. It's all about saving his sons. He truly believes Michael Jr. can still see heaven. So Rooney, he's trapped between the son he raised and the son he actually sired. And he makes his choice. He chooses blood. And by doing that, he seals his own fate. He's basically telling Sullivan what has to happen next. So in this downpour of rain, as Sullivan carries out the sentence, Rooney says this. It's just a devastating line that perfectly captures the tragic, twisted love between these two men. It's like forgiveness and condemnation all at once. With his revenge on the Rooneys complete, Sullivan takes his son to this secluded beach house in a town called Perdition. He's hoping to finally find some safety and peace. The name of the town itself is so significant. Perdition. It's a real place on a map, yeah, a potential paradise for them, but the word also means eternal damnation, hell. It represents both a safe harbor and the final stop on a damned man's journey. And just as they find a moment of peace, Maguire appears. He shoots Sullivan, wounding him fatally. Then he turns his gun on Michael Jr., the boy. He picks up a weapon to defend himself, but he can't do it. He can't take a life. And in that moment of hesitation, Sullivan sees it. He sees that his son is not like him. And this is where we see the ultimate sacrifice. With his last breath, Sullivan raises his gun and he kills McGuire. This final act of violence, it isn't revenge. It's a father's ultimate act of protection. One final murder to make sure his son's soul stays pure. He dies breaking the cycle. And his father's sacrifice? It worked. The narrator tells us that after that day, on the shores of Lake Michigan, he never held a gun again for the rest of his life. He went on to live a quiet, normal life, the very thing his father died to give him.
Which brings us all the way back to the beginning, right? To the question that has defined the narrator's entire life. How do you define a man like Michael Sullivan? Was he a monster, a hero, good, evil?
And that's the only answer that matters. It isn't a judgment, it's a statement of fact, of love, of a complex, undeniable bond. The labels of good and evil just fall away, leaving only the truth of who he was to the one person he died to save. He was his father.